Hi, everyone. Good morning, and thank you for joining today's out-of-home office hours. It's our monthly update on the Geopath Insight Suite, just what's changing and what's going on. This is Scott Fischetti. I'm here with Brian Schopper, as always.
Morning.
Morning, everyone. So want to just jump right into it, and because there's a lot that hopefully you've seen just released yesterday. The latest version of the Insight Suite with a bunch of different updates. So I'll talk about a lot of the bigger changes you'll see in the Insight Suite. And then, as always, we want to make sure we're offering insights to everyone on how to use the Insight Suite to solve clients' needs today, right? And then doing that, we're going to do it through a real life use case that we've worked with one of our members to create over the last month. And this is an ongoing feature that I'd like to make sure we're doing. Brian and I have been really working really hard over the last couple of months to really refine and make these sessions more valuable to all of our members. So little things like we hope everybody's noticed, like even in the invites, trying to give a sense of, what are the key learning objectives for each of these. And then if you were on the last session, last month rather, you may have heard that we are going to, once we get past the conference in May, start breaking these sessions out into more foundational sessions and advanced sessions. So the foundational sessions will really be for those people who haven't really explored or been able to use the Insight Suite a whole lot. And we'll talk through more how to use it, what are the kind of key features changing. But the more advanced sessions will be really about just talking about at a high level what are some of the changes, and then using a use case to demonstrate how to use some of those changes and how to get kind of actionable value out of the Insight Suite. So again, it allows our members to self-select, and you don't have to rehash old things if you are somebody that's been using the tool quite a bit. So hopefully those are some good changes, and we're always open to feedback on how to make these better for everyone. And Brian was just reminding me, because I always forget to say this, but please ask any questions throughout the session as we go along, where we want to try to answer them in real time. And Brian will probably even answer some directly, but also if there's ones that are bigger picture questions, we'll bubble those up to everybody in on the webinar today. Just a friendly reminder, again, because we are still in this beta phase with the Insight Suite, please remember that the impression data is for non-commercial use during the beta phase. That said, you can use it to really help understand your inventory or inventory that you're looking at based on audience and which inventory reaches a particular target or segment that you're really interested in reaching, which is more efficient. And that's some of what we'll cover in our. And also, again, please continue to explore the tool and provide feedback, because this is critical for us as we're developing the tool and making it more refined for what the industry needs. So we definitely take that feedback to heart, and we do make changes based on it. So the new features in this release, again, I'm just bubbling up. There's a lot of smaller things that have happened. But looking for those who are using the Insight Suite itself, and the kind of bigger changes are, we have now more than 8,000 audiences available in the Insight Suite. Previously, we were hovering around 2,000 audiences for the last couple of months. But now you'll see there's a host of new audiences, and I'll give a quick overview of what they are. And also another big change, which we've been waiting for and I'm excited about, are the Places module. That's been updated, so we're calling it Places 2.0 module. So there's now more than 5 million places and points of interest, and it's a lot easier and more efficient in looking and trying to target points of interest, especially if you're looking at something across a national level or in multiple locations around the country. So that's something that I know our members have been asking for, and we're getting there. I think we're also going to be making a few more improvements on it, but I think one of the key milestones has been achieved right now. And then a lot of user interface improvements, but one in particular that I want to point out and that we're going to talk about a little bit today and then ultimately I think I would like to have a follow-up session on this, but new media type descriptors in the Insight Suite. So you'll notice if you've been using the tool that's changed somewhat significantly, and I just want to talk through it and talk through at least some of the high-level reasons for that. So new audiences, so as I said, more than 8,000 audiences supported now across, we've added 10 different categories, and I think these are categories, again, we've been really excited for and waiting for, especially ones around alcohol, food and beverages, retail and shopping, I know is a really big one, an exciting one, as well as financial, and even category around environmental concerns or preferences, perceptions, etc. So 10 new audiences, I'll give a quick overview of those once we get into the tool, but again, I'm not going to spend a lot of time digging into those today, but I encourage everyone to go and explore those as you can. So the Places module, just a quick look at what it's going to look like, because we're going to use this in the use case example today. So the ability to actually just type in a category. So if you're looking at the screenshot to the right, you can see that this is just a general search for wine, right, across, and you can see how it's categorized and subcategorized, and you can just click on and off what you're really interested in. And again, instead of having to previously, I know, zoom into an area and only look at 10, you're getting all of them. You can see this example has 38,000 places returned. And again, you can start to narrow down to what you specifically need and look at it at a group level, which is going on here in the next slide. So if you're looking at the screenshot on the right, you're seeing how it's looking at different broader groups of places, but then you can click through on any one of those and look at specific specific locations, specific brands, if you will. And again, we'll do more of this in our use case example today. And then getting to the user interface and functionality changes, again, there's been a host of smaller tweaks and changes, again, because we're constantly getting feedback and improving the user interface and the functionality. But the big thing that I wanted to talk about today are the media type descriptors. And people may be asking, like, why are we doing this? What are the changes? So there's a couple of different reasons. One is with our work with the MRC and their standards and trying to create a common language. But also, if you've seen any of our press releases, you hopefully know that we're also doing a place-based measurement, which will be released very soon. And we need to have and want to have a kind of common language across the different categories. So it's driven by a couple different things. And like I said, I'd like to have another session on this, or at least in the next session, dig a little deeper into the whys of this. And I will probably have Dylan Maben come on this webinar and talk a little bit more deeply about some of these changes. Oh, sorry. So the broad categories, so looking at structure types, categories categorized into exterior wall, right? So something that's on a building, freestanding, and then furniture. So those are the three broader categories. And then the formats within that, you can see our murals, bulletins, and it's broken out here large and small, but actually when you're in the tool itself, you would still be just picking bulletins, but then there's a way to optimize or to even get more specific and look at bulletin size, so you can kind of enter what size you're looking for. So you will just see bulletins, posters, junior posters, and panels. And panels is where we're going to spend a lot of our time today on in the use case. And think of panels as anything, we've been kind of jokingly at some level, as a rule of thumb, thinking about panels, anything you can kind of wrap your arms around. So, right, it's kind of not as big as some of the other ones. And again, there's a number of reasons, and there may be more questions than I've answered today about this. But again, please feel free to ask your questions. Please feel free to give us feedback in the Insight Suite about this, and we'll try to get you more information on that as we move along. Because this is a new, granted, it's probably a new nomenclature for the industry to some extent. So hopefully, again, we'll try to do our best to support our members and answer questions. But So one of the things I've been doing over the last several months is really wanting to kind of crowdsource, so to speak, our use cases that we walk through so they may feel a little bit more relevant and more real life. And I do want to give a huge shout out to Tony Short from Insight Street Media, who really reached out to us, and we worked over the last month and created a really, I think, interesting use case, a very local use case. I know the last one was a little bit more probably at a national level. So again, I'm going to try to alternate from media owner side to agency side. So again, love to get any ideas for use cases. So again, Tony, thank you again. And I know a lot of the Insight Street Media team is on the call today and was on yesterday as well. So thank you for that as well. So here's the local use case example. This is just to set the stage. Here's the overview. So there's a local franchisee owner in the Tampa-St. Pete area, owns several locations, I believe up to 5 locations. I think we're going to focus on just a handful today. And the owner likes out of home, right? Uses it, but really very much a directional strategy. So looking to buy, typically buys 1 to 2 transit shelters within a mile to half-a-mile radius of around each of his locations. And these are perms. So he has those, he likes them, uses them, and we'll set up that situation. But whenever there's a new product launch or a special promotion, typically buys more, right? Wants to blanket the market a little bit more and really expands that radius a bit up to about 5 miles around the radius of its locations. And given the locations of the Qdoba locations, that 5-mile radius is pretty good at blanketing the market. But then also competitively, there's a lot of Chipotle locations, more Chipotle locations probably in the area than the Qdoba. And they may be siphoning customers off, right? So how do we help, somebody that likes out of home, uses it, believes in it, how do we help grow this relationship, right? By showing different strategies, different ways that the Insight Suite can help increase the efficiency of reaching current customers, so those that are already going to Qdoba, and even conquest some lunchtime customers from Chipotle. Again, given where some of the key locations are, lunchtime is a key time of day for this franchisee owner. So wanted to give more detail on it. So just to lay it out, so market, Tampa-St. Pete, transit shelters, likes those and uses those. And again, that's a lot of what in that area, the Insight Street Media is. And so the current target is 18 plus, right? General target, blanketing trying to reach that audience. But I want to show how you can actually get more specific and more efficient at reaching your specific target, or the Qdoba client's specific target. So I want to look at Qdoba, people that have been to Qdoba for lunch in the past 30 days, because again, we're trying to increase that lunchtime traffic. So let's really try to target those people. And then also, how do we conquest like some Chipotle customers there? And so we're going to go work through those couple of use cases today. And let's go try to figure it out. So I'm going to come back to this slide every once in a while, so I'm going to set it up again. But let's jump over to the Insight Suite. Find any questions from anybody?
Nope.
Cool. So here it is, logging in. I've already logged in, and let's start by doing a couple things. So like I said, I don't want to spend a ton of time, but I do want to let everybody know where to find those new audiences. They're all right here under consumer profiles. So you can see as you scroll down. And I think, again, one thing that we need to do here is to reorder these, maybe alphabetically a little bit better. I think the new ones have just kind of gotten tacked onto the end to a large extent, but you can see here sports, leisure, retail, shopping. I'll click on one. So you can see there's a lot of new brand names in here: Banana Republic, Bloomingdale's, Brooks Brothers, Chico's, etc. So again, hundreds of thousands really of new audiences here, amount spent on clothing, etc. So encourage everybody to explore these and really look at all the new audiences we have. So let's start along our journey on this use case. So just a reminder, right? Let me go back here. We're going to do 18 plus. So let's set up the current scenario at 18 plus. Oops, Sorry. Get rid of that. Okay. Back in the Insight Suite. All right, cool. So given this is an 18 plus target, going to the population category, I'm going to look for age. I'm going demographics, age, 18 plus. Apply that. Cool. Sorry, my phone is ringing. Apologies if you can hear that. So 18 plus, I'm going to apply that audience. And you can see over here on the right, things are going to change a little bit right here. So total of 35 billion impressions that we generate across. We're still looking across the US, 29 billion target impressions with a pretty high target comp percent, right? So that target comp percent gives us a general sense of how efficient the inventory in general is reaching the audience. And the comp index gives you, allows you to compare across markets, but we're not quite doing that yet. So let's pick our market, Tampa St. Pete, apply. Great, so now we have our audience selected, we have our market selected. So let's get down to the inventory. You know what, sorry, I wanna do one thing first, apologies. I'm gonna clear the audience. I always like this feature, and I probably show it too much to everybody, but I think it looks nice. Is there a question?
Yeah, actually.
Okay.
Speaking of audience, it was about the source of the audience data, if it's from MRI or anything like that. And that's from our partners at Claritas, and I believe they have GFK MRI data, Scarborough data. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of different data sources that they use in their own data set. And so all of this audience data is powered by Claritas.
Cool. Yep. And yes, that's exactly it. Before I do this, I want to show you the media types, how this is going to be broken down now. So you can look at digital only. And again, this will evolve over time. This was, as I said, in past webinars, we're developing this through an agile development process. So we put out a feature and functionality, and we get feedback, and we evolve it over time. So digital only, but then here's the different categories. As I said, mural, panel, junior posters. And again, we're going to reorder this. And here's your freestanding furniture and exterior walls. So again, I'll eventually go back and pick these. But I also want to show you, so I want to pick Insight Street Media to show you how you can look at all their inventory across the US, and you could do this with any operator. So I'm going to zoom back out so you can see here. And by the way, if you haven't heard, Insight Street Media was, a combination of Signal Outdoor and Martin Outdoor merged and have a bigger footprint now together. So, and here is that footprint. So I picked Insight Street Media, and now I want to go back and pick, because we're going to do we're going to do furniture, and you could pick multiple categories, as you see I was just doing, and panels, right? So apply, and so now we're filtering for that. And so now we're all set with the inventory we want and the operator. Let's go back and get our market back. You probably wouldn't do that other step, but I just wanted to show everybody that mapping capabilities. I like it. So here we are, we're in Tampa, we got our inventory set, and we got our audience set, and so we're looking at the 18 plus, and so we're filtering in. Let me zoom in here so everybody can get a sense of what that looks like. Here's all the inventory across the Tampa St. Pete DMA. And again, there's ways to, again, customize this and narrow it in if you'd like to. Again, getting into just city limits, you can do zip codes, you can do all different types of things as you start to get into location examples. But right now we're looking at the DMA level right here. Okay, so now we need to set up our places. We want our points of interest.
We got a question. It says, do you need to select an operator? I don't know.
You don't. No, not at all. You do not have to. Again, sometimes I know, especially if you're on the agency side, you may just want to know who's in that market, who has inventory, and what type of inventory is in that market. So you do not have to select an operator at all if you don't want to. And again, because of this use case, we're doing it from the perspective of an operator. That's the reason why I did that. So, cool. So here I am. I'm in the Places module, and again, if you've been in this module before, you'll see it's changed quite a bit. And so let me do this really quickly, grocery, right? Just to search. Again, I'm searching a very general category. So I want to show you how that works. And we're going to get the entire list across the US of anything related to grocery. And you can see there's 141,000 places returned, going from 7-Eleven, Circle K's to Publix, so all across the different chains that there are. And again, you can start to decide, okay, I just want to look at grocery stores that are a combination of full service restaurants and grocery stores, and I just want to look at that. So again, it'll start to filter here on the right as well. See, that whole thing changed, the whole map changed as well. And again, there's bubbles. The bubbles are for the state. So again, even though there's this 11 in the Florida isn't just in the Orlando area where that bubble's over, it's for the state right now. So let me clear that. Let's get back to our use case. So we're really interested in, right now, we want to map out those Qdoba locations. So I'm going to go back, I'm going to click this back arrow. And once it comes back into focus, I'm going to type in Qdoba, and we're going to list them all out and find our Tampa locations. And here we go. Oh, it's hanging up a little bit here. I'm just going to hit a quick refresh up here. If you ever find this and it's doing something like this, just go up into your browser for now and just hit a refresh. And again, sometimes it's just me being impatient, but sometimes you need to do that. All right. So again, I'm going to try that one more time. Again, please, apologies. This is still in beta, and there was a new release yesterday, so that to some extent, some of the back end caching is still going on. So that is why maybe in these moments you might see it lag a little bit, but again, that should kind of work itself out over the weekend too. So I'm going back to my Qdoba. Oh, wait, did I spell that? So here we are, 716 places returned. Looks like these are the ones we want to look here, right? Restaurants, Qdoba Mexican Grill, restaurants and places. So you can also pick it over here. So I want the limited service restaurants, and I'm looking at those. And I could click in now and look at all of the ones across the US, right? And I want to now filter for the state, because I want to look at Florida. And again, we're going to be adding more search functionality to this, so it'll be a little bit more efficient. Right now, I'm just filtering by state, and I'm scrolling down, and it kind of auto fills as I do it. So I'm going to click all of them off because I want to just look at the Tampa ones. So there's one here, there's one, there's one here, and then I know there's also one, I believe, in Riverview right here, which is the one that they also own.
That's right.
Yep. So I can now then save this as a set, as a my place set. Right, save as a new place set. And I would do this, Qdoba, Tampa, boom, and I would just hit create place set. But I've already done this just to save a little time. So I'm gonna now go to my places, and I've also done it for Chipotle as well. I'm gonna click on my Qdoba Tampa, and it would be the same process, but I can show you how to do that again in a second. So let me close this, and let's zoom in to our Tampa locations. So we have these Tampa locations. And one thing that I think is really interesting, if you're on the call yesterday that I didn't do, as you zoom in pretty tight, you'll see that it'll show the footprint of the building itself and where it's located. I find that very interesting. And it's also in prep for the place-based module coming out as well. So that's cool. And so I have my 3 locations, and a couple of these points to note. This one in particular, one audience that the franchisee owner is interested in is like, there's an Air Force base right here, right? And a lot of people come from over here in Riverview and Brandon, and also up over here in, I believe it's called like this Carrollwood Village area, come into to work at the base. And so that's a great audience. It's a captive audience to some extent, and want to capture those people as well. So that, we'll look at that in a little bit as well. So, okay, I got my my units and or my places, and so I've saved it. So let's go start doing some work with it. So one thing I noted early on, right, just to go back to the case study here, right, we currently has perms, about 2 to 3 around each location over, and likes to keep those. So let's set that up, set that scenario up, because as we move forward, we don't necessarily want to repeat all the same, you know, the same units, right? We want to add to those perms. So, well, we've already picked our audience, right? Persons 18 plus. It's right here. Campus St. Pete, and target composition percent. For this, so I want to target impressions, right? It just wants to know we're getting a lot of impressions across that 18 plus audience. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to map out those play sets. So this is where I would do that layers and display options. So I have my play set, my Cadova Tampa. Let's get those in. I'm going to make them, they're more on brand colors. And again, if you actually have the hexadecimal number, the brand colors, you can actually use the actual brand colors. So here's where they are. Here's where all the inventory is. And so I went ahead. So one of the features that you may have seen before but isn't here right now, and that's again because of just some of the new features we've added. We've had to hide a couple other features, but they'll be coming back. So the ability to map out your points of interest and then create a radius around each of them and just look at the inventory within 1 mile, half a mile, etc., will be coming back. But we have already done this, so I have a list of those perms, right? And we would know what they are anyway, so we could copy and paste that in as a list as well. So I'm going to map those out for now, just so we can set up, like I said, our current situation. So I've already saved that as a Cadova 18 plus perms. Boom. So I want to show you where those are. I'm going to keep those in purple as well, so they really stand out. So there they are around the market, right? So there's a couple up here, a couple here, a few around this location down here. Oops, zoomed in down there. Great. So we have our perms. So let's say so the goal, right, is to actually, how do we have this owner? Let's say it's the 4th of July is coming up, and often has, you know, a lot of things associated with that. Maybe there's a new sandwich or a special event or something like that. So let's say we want him to really buy those extra 50 for that, to promote the upcoming 4th of July and consider them for your outdoor parties, those kinds of things, right? So that would be kind of the messaging we might go with. So I have it set up here. So currently, like I said, it's an 18 plus target that he uses, right? And so let's look at the top 50 right now, because he typically buys 50, right? We'll start to map those out. So I'm still keeping it at target impressions and looking at those, and maybe I'd even increase it to 100 right now, because then we want to pull back and find out which are the best 50 for it that aren't overlapping with our thing, with our current perm. So I would export this as a CSV file. I just click here. And what I'd want to do is actually just go out into Excel. And I've already done this and I want to show you. It's really not too hard. So I would open this CSV file and copy my perm list, which is here, right? And my 50 18 plus units. Let's ignore these two columns for now because we're going to come back to them. So I want to just do a quick, if-then search on. You can do it by doing conditional formatting. It's pretty quick and easy to do here. And if you ever need help with that, we're happy to help out. And it just identifies where there's overlap. And we're making sure we don't have the overlap. And want to take this. I can then just take this quick list right here. Control C, so I'm copying it. I can go back into the tool. So these are the 50 that are available, that I like, that are spread across the market and are really going to help the client. So I'm doing that. So I can come right back in here and go to load saved inventory sets, right? Oops, nope. I've already done that, but I want to show like specific units by ID. So I'm going to copy and paste those in. There's 50 here. Great. And I want to apply those. So now I'm just going to be looking at those 50 across the market. And look at those. They look pretty good, right? They're spread out across. We're blanketing the market. And so I like that set. So we can save that as well, right? We'd save this as a new inventory set. And one thing I recommend when you're doing this is be very consistent and as specific as possible. So Qdoba, Tampa, because you may be running multiple locations, things like that. So it's my 18 plus and top 50, right? And you can see I've already saved this, name already exists. Again, I did, and you could add other notes here too. This is based on target impressions, right? Like that. So I'm not going to actually save it because I do have it here. And we're going to eventually come back to that. I'm going to map that out in the market as well. So we're looking at that. We have a good setup here. So I think the next step is how do we now use the new audiences available to us to really get more efficient and help our client. So let's clear this 18 plus audience. Okay, so I want to look at what do we have available for Qdoba. So quick service restaurants, dinner, the past 30 days, Qdoba, lunch, and just in general. So again, we're interested in that lunchtime traffic, so I'm going to pick that. I'm going to apply that audience, and again, we're still in Tampa. We still have the other filters of Insight Street Media, as well as the transit shelters that we're going to be looking at. And also, by the way, I do apologize, I should have mentioned this, there's always a key available. And as we keep adding to the map and have our custom key, it actually customizes to what we've done. If we're just looking in general, it'll be a standard set of the color coding that's available. But as you customize it, it also customizes. So right now, you can get a quick sense. We're looking at street furniture. We have our points of interest, and we have our kind of perms set there. So I've chosen the Qdoba audience for the lunch. And you can see over here that this has all changed a little bit. So I want to look at target composition percent, right? And the reason why I'm doing that, I'm switching from target impressions because the target comp percent gives us a better sense of what inventory is most efficient at reaching our specific target. Because we have a specific target, I want to use that. So it looks like 1.3%, but the index is really high. So you want to look at these two things together, right? So we're getting a good sense of like, this is kind of the percent of units that are available in that, that the inventory generates, but it's really over-indexing. So these units are 30% more likely on average to generate impressions among that audience. So these seem like good units to me. So want to look at the top 50 where they are across the market. And again, you can see here.
It's interesting, yeah.
Yeah, you can see here, right? We have our perms, but again, where I mentioned earlier, we're trying to capture people to a large extent, want to capture some of that Air Force Base traffic. So, and again, we know that they live here, and there's a good contingent living here, all commuting in. So we're reaching them in their home locations, right? And so this is really interesting and very different to some extent, right, from the 18 plus set that we had. So I'll do the same thing, right? You want to save this potentially as an inventory set. So again, I recommend being very consistent. And again, maybe there's a different naming nomenclature that you would use that would be more efficient for you. And so this is Qdoba lunch, right? Top 50, right? And you could do some of the same things. So again, name already exists because I did it. You may want to add some other notes and stuff. But I also would want to export this as a CSV, right? Because I want to make sure that I'm not duplicating inventory. And so that's where, we'd go back to so I exported it. It's right here on the bottom. But what I've done already is that we've opened it. And I want to look at these two columns now. So here's my 50, 18 plus units that I've already set up, and my lunch, my Qdoba lunch. And again, you can see there's not a ton of overlap. So there's only two that are overlapping that we've been able to find. So these look like a good set, and we may want to take those two out, or we may want to leave them in. And again, ultimately, the final recommendation may be a combination of these two and maybe ultimately three columns that we have here. We haven't talked about the Chipotle conquesting yet. So again, I would do the same thing. I'd kind of copy this and save it ultimately in the end. Do Control-C, oops, and then go back and put it in here. But again, we have it, we've already saved it, and so we can start to map those out. So let's do next, let's look at that conquesting example, right? Because we want to try to get, there's a lot of Chipotles around. So again, let's go back here. Let's go back to places. As I said, I mapped out, I did the same example before, so let me show you how I would do that. Let me go to find and define. So I would ultimately just put in Chipotle. Search. And again, you'll see all across the US, there's 2,600 plus. And we could decide we want to pick those, and we filter for those, and then we go in here, click there, and then filter by state, and look at the ones in the Tampa area. So again, I've done that for everyone. So just to save some time, here they are. Grab those. I may have wanted to clear the Qdoba before I did this, but it should hopefully not give it too much of a problem. Okay, here they are. And then you can see there's quite a few in the area. There's quite a few in the Tampa, St. Pete area. So really competing against a lot of that. But this group right here is what I'm most interested in, kind of in this little peninsula area where the Air Force Base is and where a lot of the Qdoba locations are. So let's go back and start to work with this list now. So once I get back into this Explore module, I'm going to go back to Layers and Display Options. And I'm going to layer in the Chipotle locations. So right now, we're back where we were. Right now, I have my place set, right, because I've saved it already. I'm going to pick those. I'm going to color code those be more red. It's a little pink. Okay, I'm going to more red. Apply view. So I want to layer those in. So there's quite a few, right? So I'm going to zoom in here. And so again, we have a little messy right now, right? We got a lot going on. We have our Chipotle locations, we have our perms. So what I want to do is actually, let's go back and pick a new audience, right? I want to select an audience for, similarly, like let's get those people going to Chipotle for lunch. Grabbing those, apply. So now I have a new audience selected. I'm applying it. And I want to do the same kind of filtering. I want to filter for those that are, I want to look at target comp percentage. Again, I want to look at those units that are most efficient at reaching that target, but we're not, and then we're ultimately going to message them around about changing their mind and coming to a Qdoba restaurant. So I'm looking at the top 50. And this is what I feel is really interesting, right? Look at where those 50 are in comparison to the market, right? These are people, these are units that are among those that say they've been to a Chipotle restaurant in the past 30 days for lunch. So again, very different. And again, we want to do the same thing. You know, you want to save it as an inventory set, and again, be very consistent about using your naming nomenclature, because it clusters them all together when you're starting to map those. And then you want to download that as CSV, and we did that already. And again, I want to show you how the columns compare, right? So looking at the columns, because again, we don't want to overlap with the other ones, or we want to at least know what's overlapping. And it looks like there's only a couple that overlap with this 18 plus. Yeah, it's the same two that are crossed. So those must be good units for both, for just in the market in general. But let's go back to here, and let's create a more of a custom map. So I've saved my top 50 for reaching Chipotle customers. I've saved my top 50 for 18 plus. I've saved my top 50 for reaching Qdoba. And so there's also a lot of ways to customize our map a little bit better and create something that we can share with the client. So I'm back over here in layers and display options. I have my Tampa Qdoba locations, my Chipotle. I have my perms there. So let's do a couple things. So I don't need to see these 50 right now anymore. So there's a way in display options to get rid of this. Show unselected inventory. So here's where you can start to customize. As you're starting to customize for a client, you can choose different base maps. And that's also one thing you may notice has been improved. There's the detail behind the maps has been improved a little. You can do a satellite view or kind of more of a dark view. I'm going to keep that map here. And there's ways to customize these pills down here. You don't have to show them. You can choose which ones you do want to show. So there's maybe some you don't want to show. You can bring in logos and things like that. But for right now and today, I'm going to just, I don't want to show unselected inventory right now. I'm going to get rid of that. So it's going to clean up the map a little bit. So even these gray dots here are not going to show up. And one thing I'm going to need to do is actually go back, because I am filtering, right? I'm filtering for these 50, so I don't want to show those. I want to show none, right? I don't want to filter for any inventory. So our map's going to get pretty clean right now, hopefully. And then I'm going to go back to layers, and I'm going to do some mapping here. So again, we have let me zoom out a little bit just so you can get perspective on the market. So let's look at what we might want to start doing here. So let's look at our inventory sets. I'm going to go down to where I have all the Qdoba ones. And I think one recommendation here, I think for the developers is like, can we do a search on these layers as well? Whoa, uh-oh. Sorry about that. I want to zoom back out here. Sorry. Let me get back. Sorry, my mouse was a little bit more sensitive than I wanted it to be. Okay, I'm back. So here we go. So Qdoba Chipotle top 50 right there, and I want my Qdoba top 50 right here. So let me go back here. Great. So we have them. I haven't applied them yet. So let's look at. I'm going to color code the Chipotle ones. Make those red as well. And then I want to look at the Qdoba ones and see where all this lays out in the market. I'm going to color code those a little bit more here. You know what? I'm going to make those green. I'm starting to get too close in colors here. All right, so this is what we got in the market, right? So we're looking at, so the greens are those that are really efficient at reaching our Cadobe for lunchtime crowd, and then we're looking at those that are here in the middle, those that are good at reaching the Chipotle crowd. And then, so again, like I said, ultimately, this is really is helpful in helping us kind of be more consultative with even our local buyers, right? And understand local clients and really understand what the market is like. And again, allowing us knowing the background in the market, like that Tony was able to share with us, right?
Yeah.
That we know a lot of the Air Force, employees live here and over here down in Brandon. So again, applying your knowledge as well as hopefully this is helping kind of enhance that and enhance your ability to create different recommendations and different packages, right? Because it may be a combination of this. You might not pick all of the 50 green or all of the 50 the pinkish red ones that are Chipotle, be a combination. And you can even, I'll layer in the other one, but it may start to look a little busy. But so you can see kind of what maybe the current state is versus kind of the new ability to recommend other ones. So I'm going to layer in those 18 plus as well. And you may want to create 3 separate maps, and you can do all this with the tool. I'm going to make these, again, at the risk of making it too busy, I'm going to make these blue and apply those. Right? And so again, you can
really
see
interesting.
You can see how each one has its own unique footprint of audience it's trying to reach, or in terms of the audience that's being reached by these. Each set of units have their own kind of footprint of groupings, right? So yeah.
And I believe you said this. The grouping of the Cadobe eaters up in the northwest there and over on the east side, that was through conversations with Tony. Just sort of before we even started to look through the data, we had just kind of had an understanding of where this military target lived, and it's just really, really great to see it actually with the units themselves.
Yeah, so it plays out, and the reality is shown here through the actual units. So, and then ultimately, if you want to, you can actually save this, and you can print this view. And I do apologize. This is going to show up in black and white on my view, but it's not. You can print these in color. Don't know why I cannot get it to show. Oh, yay, it worked. I wasn't doing this yesterday. But again, you can do that, and you could show it as a landscape.
And you can save it as a PDF from this point as well.
Yeah, and you can ultimately save it as a PDF and drop it into a PowerPoint or Keynote presentation, those kinds of things. And again, you could zoom in and have done. I didn't really set the print view up that nicely, but I just wanted to let you know that you can do this. I'm going to cancel that out. And that's really a lot of what I wanted to show today. I know we're coming up at the top of the hour. So wanted to just check in, see if anybody has any other questions as we're doing that. And as you may be typing them in, wanted to let everybody know about our May training sessions. So once we come back from the conference, we're going to have some at the end of May. So again, still going to try to keep that last Thursday and Friday of every month cadence going. So Thursday, May 30th, and we'll keep that the Thursday one from 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern time. And this will be the foundational level one. Again, trying to put some learning objectives against those. So again, the foundational level ones will be really more of a detailed walkthrough of the Insight Suite itself and some of the key features and functionality. And the advanced level will have some of that, but it'll largely be this type of thing where we walk through a use case. Brian,
I actually I made a typo on the slide. It's from the advanced level will be from noon until 1 Eastern time.
Sorry, yes.
That was my mistake.
Yeah, apologies. We realized that this time is probably hard for our West Coast members, so we wanted to at least make it from noon to 1 instead of the 11 to noon. Sorry about that. Apologies. And then, in case you missed it, we had a recent in our Data Talk series of webinars, we had a great session with Horace Stipp of EVP of Global Business Strategy for the ARF, really talking about some research that they've done that really helps support and wants to, show us how we can really make the case for out-of-home and cross-platform media plans. And then again, if you ever need to go back to any of our old sessions, this session will be up pretty soon. You go to Geek Out tab of our website, and here's all of our old, not old, but the 6 most recent sessions. You can click here where it says click here to go back to our YouTube channel and look at any of our older sessions that we've done. Want to say thank you to everybody, and also, like, again, please reach out. I think these are really fun to work with our members and to create some of these real, quote unquote, real life use cases. And if you do have one that you want to see up here, it's a great way to show some of what your organization's doing and how you think as an organization, and also just makes it, I think, interesting for everybody as well. So please reach out if you have one. You could reach out to us at geekout@geopath.org, and we'd be happy to work with anybody. Just want to check in. Any other questions, Brett?
Looks like we're good.
All right, cool. Thank you, everyone, and have a great weekend. And again, as you're exploring the new tool, again, I know there were a lot of changes. Please feel free to reach out to us at Geek Out if you have any questions or concerns with anything. Otherwise, thanks again, everybody. Have a good one. Cheers.